We are live. I am joined by the lovely, the enigmatic, the the marvelous.
I don't
Sharon.
remember the last time I was called enigmatic, but thank you.
What do you mean?
I mean, don't write that down. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. That's a $2 word to start Monday.
Go. Good morning.
As always, I'm just gonna tag us in here. Tag everyone. Let's see. Do you know the secret of lasting change? Come say hi. If you guys are watching this live or on the recording, of course, come say hello. We always come back to these recordings and answer questions and get conversation flowing. So what we're going to talk about today is the secret to never needing to start again. Big picture, if there's anything we can optimize for, anything, it's not results. Big picture, right? It's not every detail with nutrition. It's not every detail with nutrition. It's not sleep. It's not stress. The one thing that's bigger picture than all of those things combined is just never stopping again. Because if we don't stop, we don't need to restart. So, Coach Sharon, what would be the first thing that comes to mind? Okay, if we're optimizing for never stopping again and never needing to start again, what's one thing we can do?
The first is everyone who wants to change, whether it's working with us, that kind of change, or some other change.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to sound really simple. Like, you need to step back and take a breath. And you need to determine your true why. Because if you're doing it for something that isn't really you, whether it's not you specifically, like your partner or your whoever, you're not going to be all in. The second is, once you determine your why, and this is where I think our coaching really helps, is understanding how I have this conversation with my clients very, very often. I should just record it and hit here. Wait, let me hit this button and listen to this first. Right? So understanding how you got to where you are, right? You weren't, let's say you're working with us and you want to change your body, whether it's, most of my clients want to lose fat. They may want some muscle definition, but their first priority is losing fat. So I'm just going to use that as the example today, but this can apply to anywhere. So if you want to lose fat, that means that you've gained weight that you don't want. Yes. And it didn't just happen overnight. It took a long time to get there. You weren't born like that, right? You know, the choices that you've made. Now, this is hard truth. So
yes,
this is me talking. So if you like this type of accountability,
right,
then you'll
keep listening.
Right, you're really appreciating to say, if this hits too close to home, then you may hate me. And I'm okay with that, right? So the hard truth is, most of the reason how you look the way you look is your choices. I'm not saying all of them. I said most, right? Because there are absolutely other circumstances. So before people write in and say, but, like, I know that, right? I'm talking, this is a podcast. I'm talking in general terms. So hard truth is, a lot of it is based on your choices. And that is fitness, that is nutrition, that is sleep, that is water, and that is mindset. I'm not saying not to have bad days, right? I'm generally cranky, and some days I'm crankier than others.
You say I'm generally cranky?
Right?
That's funny.
However, like, mindset is understanding that if you have a bad day, try to make it better the next day, right? If you have a bad meal, whatever you consider a bad meal is, your next meal, make it better, right? Yes. So it's not like someone who says, I'm going to start eating better on Monday, and they eat one good meal, whatever good meal is, and then at lunchtime they don't eat good or well, and they're like, well, now I blew it, I'm going to have to wait till next Monday.
Right, it's over.
That's right. It's mindset. And in our society, we have been at all ages, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and older. Yes. We have been guided and led to believe that things are instantaneous. And I'm as guilty as anyone else. Like, I want it now. Well, actually, I wanted it like 2 days ago. Okay? But like, look at Amazon Prime. It was
Oh, yeah.
unsustainable, right? They cannot deliver next day or even 2 days anymore. Like they cannot guarantee that. And if Amazon, right, this is how a lot of people are thinking, well, Amazon Prime says next day delivery. Well, they can't sustain that. So why do you think you can sustain something that's unrealistic? The idea is your mindset and setting yourself up to succeed.
To your point, I agree with you. I think, as you were saying, like the hard truths. On Friday, actually, we were talking about this idea of extreme ownership, right? We are where we are because of the thoughts that go into our head every day. So if you do nothing else, I use the analogy or I use the example. If I had two people and I could snap my fingers and get one person to a point where they hit their goal weight, like immediately, but nothing about them changes, just their physique. Or I can change somebody's mindset and get them so that they're thinking in a different way. Let's say that's aligned with an identity that is healthy. I would much prefer the second. And you might say, well, no, just give me the first and then I'll figure it out. It's like, that doesn't work that way. It's you have to be before you become type of thing. And this goes right in alignment with the idea of extreme ownership, where I don't think it's negative or or mean to say that we are where we are because of ourselves. Like there are factors that are outside our control. I remember even recently we had somebody comment and they said, hey, look, my doctor says that I have a genetic condition that means I'm going to be overweight. And that might be true. However, that is a belief that does not empower you. Because even if it is 100% true, I can guarantee that you will still be healthier if you exercise. You will still be healthier if you eat better. You will still be healthier. So you have still so much power. Don't be a victim. And again, I'm not here to say again, it's not hard, but I am here to say that if you want to change, you have all the power in the world to. And it is not negative to say you have power. If anything, it's the opposite. Stop giving our power to everyone else by saying, oh, that person says I can't, my genetics are this, my hormones are that. Hey, take the power back. Hey, no, I am where I am. That hurts initially, but I'll tell you what, months from now, years from now, you'll be so happy you did. Because if you can just get past that initial pain of like, oh, shit, I am where I am because of me. Then you can bite that. It's salty. It is salty, but then you can swallow it and move on. So I agree with you, and to your point too, not to steal the show, but you talked about not being perfect. 100% agree as well. The difference between somebody like, we'll say like you, right? Or maybe you might be the rare exception because you're right on. I'll say maybe me because I'm probably a little more off kilter with my nutrition. The difference between someone maybe like me that is able to stay consistent for the most part, be 80% on, 90% on, and the person that has yet to be able to break through, we deviate from optimal the same amount of the time, the same percentage. The difference is my deviations last a couple minutes to an hour, where somebody else, like you said, oh, Monday I had a bad meal. You know what? I'll just start again next Monday. And their deviation lasts a whole week. And then that can turn into months. Sorry to steamroll you there.
What I find a lot with my clients is, and I understand this, right? They want immediate results.
Yes.
So let's say that they just started tracking their calories for me, right? Because I need to see what they're eating.
Yes.
I can't make good recommendations if I don't even have any concept
right,
of
you need
how
data.
they eat or drink, right? Like, give me some data. Like, I need something where I'm going to kind of guess. And I have a lot of experience,
right?
But you're not paying for me to guess. You're paying for my experience and my knowledge and everything else. And part of that is giving me some data. So let's say that they just started tracking. And we talk about caloric goals and macronutrient goals,
yes,
and that kind of thing. And they're like, well, I haven't lost weight yet. Like,
mm-hmm.
Well, it's been like 8 days. Like I get it, because you've been eating so differently for the last 8 days than you have been for months or years. But setting the expectation, and some of that is me, but some of it is the person, right? Like I can say whatever words and think that I'm communicating in a way that the recipient, like my client, is hearing.
Yes.
But that deep mindset that we're trying to change is just so strong
Yes.
that just like me, right? I hear what I want to hear. Like you
I
can,
don't we all? Yeah.
right? But I'm sure you said that. Like, well, that's not exactly that. Like in that context, if you look at the rest of the context, right, that kind of thing. So setting the expectation of many milestones and baby steps to reach the big goal, I think is
Yes.
key. And my successful clients over the past 12 or more years, that's
Yes.
what they do. And that's how they make this a lifestyle. You know,
Yes.
eating well, I'm using nutrition as an example, but it could be fitness. But eating well for one meal is good, especially if you haven't been eating well really for years. And I mean
Yes.
that literally, like years, right? Eating well for a week is good. Eating well for a month is good. And when I talk about eating well, I'm not saying you have to eat perfect.
No.
I don't expect perfection. I
No.
like progression and better choices. But
Of
if you
course.
want to eat a cookie, go eat a cookie, right? If you have a glass of wine, go have a glass of wine.
Yes.
I don't want you to feel deprived. But anyway, eating well for a month is good. But when you create a lifestyle, it's many 30-day periods all strung together.
Yes.
So you are in situations where you have to make choices. And the choice is either, hey, I'm at a happy hour and I'm going to have a couple drinks socially and I'm good.
Yes.
Or I'm at happy hour and I'm going to close down the bar for the next 7 hours. And I'm going to do keg stands and I'm going to
Keg stand. It's all good. The day's blown anyway. Let's do keg stands.
yeah, let's do keg stands. And that's where the mindset and the non-scale victories start to come in. If a client comes to me and says, oh my gosh, I had a really bad, they're an emotional eater. They've had a really bad day. When they send me a note at the end of the day and they say, you know what? And they tell me about their day, whatever it was. And I went into my kitchen and I saw the cake on the counter and I only had one slice. They're like,
amazing.
and they say, I can't believe I wanted it. Like, I shouldn't have eaten that slice. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you only had one slice. Like,
yeah, you're used to eating the whole thing. That's a victory, baby.
It is. And that's all mindset. And it's understanding,
like quantifying those victories. Yeah. Because they're hard to track. It's hard. It's not just like, oh, a number. It floats, you know, it's harder to track for sure.
It is.
But that's amazing. You said some really just like profound things that I want to restate. One being expectations. I remember, I think it might have been Tony Robbins. He says, which I don't believe in everything he says, but one thing he says that I liked, it was one of those little catchphrases. He said, if you trade your expectations for appreciation, everything changes. And I feel like in this context, it can be applied to a degree as well. Because if you think about expectations, expectations essentially stop us from the main goal. Expectations are, if we're thinking big picture, what is the most important thing we're optimizing for? It is never starting again, meaning that we should never stop. So if we're optimizing for that, expectations actually do the opposite. How? Well, let's look at it from a new client perspective or a new journey perspective. We have this individual who's going into the journey and they say, you know what, I'm going to, I lost weight before and I, lost like 2 to 3 pounds a week. Now I'm working with a coach, so I can definitely lose 2 pounds a week. Great. So they say, I want to lose 2 pounds a week, right? Coach comes to them and says, hey, I get it. You want to lose 2 pounds a week. And technically we could definitely help you do that. However, here's what you should know. You're not going to lose 2 pounds of fat per week. Your caloric deficit would have to be 1,000. You're going to burn, let's say you're going to burn through all activity and your basal metabolic rate, 2,000 calories a day. You'd have to eat 1,000 calories a day. I know you don't want to do that. I don't want to have you do that. So let's go to 1,500, right? In a normal situation, that's going to put you at 1 pound of fat a week. So with that, they might say, okay, cool. But in the back of their head, they're thinking, yeah, but I really want to lose 2 pounds, right? But keep in mind, if you lose 2 pounds and you're only in a caloric deficit of 500 a day, that means you're not losing only fat. It means you're losing water, bone density, or muscle, all things that you do not want to lose. Because even though at the end of 12 weeks, you could be on the scale and be 24 pounds down and be celebrating, Yahoo, look at my weight, your body could look pretty much the same, almost. losing 14 pounds of fat, and you're more well hydrated, so you're thinking more clearly. You have more muscle tone, so you look more fit versus being more of this skinny fat, right? So all this to say, if you went in with the opposite, or let's say you go in with the expectation, I want to lose 2 pounds a week, you only lose 0.8 pounds a week, you feel discouraged. You're in week 3 thinking to yourself, I'm working so hard, but I'm only down 2 pounds, 2.4 pounds. And now that disempowers you. And because you feel disempowered, you stop. And this is something that we have to solve for. What's the easiest way to solve for it? Get rid of your expectation. Or zoom out so far that you cannot be disappointed. Disappointment comes from the expectation of a goal that's too close to your face or one that's too intense. So think to yourself, am I setting this goal that's too intense? Or am I just focused on 6 weeks when instead I should be focused on 6 years? Because I promise you, when you zoom out far enough or you get rid of your expectation, you don't stop. What happens when you don't stop? You cannot perform actions of health and wellness and fitness and not get results. Our bodies don't work that way, right? You put the input in, the output will come. But we have to optimize the psychology around it, which is what we do. So if there's anything you're thinking of starting your journey, the first thing you should do is get rid of your expectation. Hey, whatever happens, happens. I'm not tying my self-worth to the outcome of the weight. I'm tying my self-worth to the outcome of doing the actions, right? And you do that, drop the mic. You win because you'll never stop again. And you're done, you know? I don't know. What's your thought on that?
No, I mean, I agree. I want people to have expectations, but
Yes.
you know, with caveats, like you said, because I want them to be able to verbalize their goals. So when I have a kickoff call with a client and I say, hey, you know, tell me your goals, and some of them say, I just want to be healthier, and those people, wow, like we get them there pretty quick, right? And with that, they do lose weight if they want to lose weight, or you know, whatever other goals they have. But for the person who says, I want to lose 50 pounds, I interrupt them. Like I'm like, oh, you know, tell me what you think. I interrupt them and I ask, where did that number come from? And they go, and they say, well, that's what I used to weigh. Okay. Right. When did you weigh that? And they normally laugh and there's a pause. And they say, well, right after college. Okay, I'm talking with women who are in their 40s or 50s or older, right? Yeah. So it's been 20 or more years since they weighed that. I'm glad that I understand that's their expectation. Hey, I want to get back to that.
Awesome.
But I also tell them at that time, so it's been a while. And they're like, yeah. So it's going to take you a while to get to where you want to be. And they say, yeah. So then I ask, okay, so why is that important to you? And they start saying, well, you know, whatever.
Yep.
And then I ask, okay, how did that make you feel when you weighed that? And they think, oh, you know, I felt good. I felt healthy. I felt sexy. Mm. Okay. So if that's your goal, then all right, let's move forward. Like I want to understand why they came up with this number. Because if it's a random number, it's not realistic to them, right? They're just they're guessing.
Just numbers, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think the expectations is I mean, that's crucial. I feel like, yeah, if we can just go into tying our self-worth to the actions versus the outcomes, you'll never stop. And I think this is why, maybe at the time I didn't even realize I was doing it, but like Carla or Kim, you know, we, for those of you who know their stories, because we talk about them kind of often, and you've probably seen them before and afters, but Carla lost 120 pounds, right? Got back in red bikini, all that great stuff. For her, her goal shifted because I noticed with her, she was feeling a bit neurotic about the scale. You know, we'd weigh in, she lost 20 pounds relatively quickly, but then she stagnated for about 4 weeks straight. And she was still doing everything normally. And she was feeling discouraged. And it was at that time that I said, hey, look, maybe we shouldn't be weighing you anymore because you will get to your goal as long as you keep being in a caloric deficit. Like, you're going to get there. Why don't we, instead of having an action that disempowers you, have an action that empowers you? What's something that we can track so you know you're going in the right direction, but at the same time has a higher likelihood of being an empowering action? And what we settled on was tracking her mile time. So, or her splits as well, because she would do half mile, mile. Her goal, a performance goal, was to run a marathon. Now, this is coming from a woman that has never run more than a 3K, or she didn't even ever had run a 3K in her life, because ever since she was about 17 years old, she was overweight. By the time she was 25, she was obese. So, like, she's not running. But we set the goal and we shifted simply to, hey, let's just track your mile time every week. Instead of you hopping on the scale, you're going to run a mile. And she was doing other things for cardio in between there, but her mile time pretty much every week would improve. And if it didn't, it'd be like, well, I slept crappy the day before, I was tight or whatever. But she would have, I would say, the majority of the time, maybe 80%, a positive reaction to the outcome. It would be the same, if not positive. When she was weighing herself, it was either 50-50 or even less. Because even if she lost a pound, she's like, damn it, I wanted more. And I'm like, what? So, like, what should be a positive reaction was actually a negative one. And I'm like, So we shifted what would be essentially a weekly tracking to be, instead of 30% of the time I feel good and 70% of the time I feel like crap, we flipped it.
Yep.
And her adherence was way better. Why? Because she was rewarded for the action she was taking. Right? No human being, that's what willpower is. Willpower is when you are not being rewarded for the actions you're taking and you do it anyway. Nobody does that. Like, I don't. Like, I'm not, discipline doesn't exist. Like, we do things as human beings because it feels good on some level, even hard things. Like, hard things can feel good because we think, wow, like, I'm special. I'm willing to push through and other people aren't. It always comes back to pleasure and pain. But yeah, we actually had a comment come through that I wanted to mention. Oh, Amanda says hi. Hi, Amanda. Joanna says, I love the concept of not having the expectation to lose a certain amount of weight. I am the person that came into this saying, I want to lose 50 pounds, but I totally agree. Where did that come from? Love the thought of focus on empowering yourself and getting control of your actions over focusing on how many pounds you lost this week. Hell yeah, Joanna. I love that. Love it. Oh, I see a big smile from you, Sharon. That's awesome. Are you, Joanna, your client, or maybe somebody else's? No. Okay.
It's mine.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's what it comes down to. It's shifting. If we can, again, optimize for you feeling good mentally, whatever that means, if we can eliminate the actions that give you pain, and that doesn't necessarily mean the actions that are going to get you results. That also might be actions that we're using to track, which might be the scale. So this is a good opportunity to zoom out and look at your entire process, whether you're working with a coach or not. What are you doing and what is causing you distress? Anything that is causing you distress, you will not maintain. The problem is all the actions are linked. So really, it's not the fact that eating well and exercising and drinking a lot of water is actually distressing to you. It's the scale. It's the fact you're not losing weight fast enough for your expectation. So essentially, that means if you just get rid of that and shift it for something else, you should be able to theoretically stay the course with a coach or without a coach. Something to think about. Well, guess we're dropping the mic. We done. See ya. Any comment? We have the most viewers now, so before we just end it, comments, questions, let me know what you guys think. If you guys are watching this either live or on recording, feel free to like this. It shows it to more people. Ask a question, even if on recording, because Sharon and myself will come back and answer these questions. And also let me know if this is, if you've been listening for any length of time, does this resonate with you? Do you find yourself in this position where the scale is kind of your worst enemy? And, you're kind of curious, how can you break beyond it? Let us know. We'll hang out for another 20 seconds and wait for this flood of comments. Although there actually might be like a 30-second or more delay on this, in which case,
probably a delay.
In which case we'll never see them. So I guess we'll end it here. But all right, very nice. Hope you guys have a super awesome day. If you need anything, just reach out. Let us know. I'll drop a link somewhere in case you want to work with Coach Sharon or myself or any of our coaches. And yeah, we'll be rocking and rolling. Enjoy the week. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.